Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a Chosen's Corner episode featuring Ash. Ash is a content provider who came from mainly the Clash of Clans, Clash Royale genre, and has recently gotten into Raid Shadow Legends. So I'm really excited to get his perspective based off of kind of coming into the game a little bit more recently, and coming from a different, company and producing content in a different genre, and kind of what he thinks on a bunch of different topics. So we're just gonna have a fun, casual conversation and kind of bounce some ideas back and forth and discuss a few things. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, and now I am joined by Ash. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, Chofly is so happy to be here, man. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Doing good.
Dude, I either call you Brad or Chofly or Chosen. I don't know what the hell to call you, man. It's a pleasure to be here, though.
Chofly, Chosen. Yeah, Chosen's cool. That's kind of the gamer tag, and Chofly is the team or whatever. So yeah, man, you kind of had a wild ride, kind of getting into Raid. I wanted you to kind of like walk everybody through kind of your gaming journey and how you ended up being kind of a Raid content producer and all that.
Yeah, man. Well, you're a big part of my journey, so thanks again for getting into it. Or do I want to thank you, or do I want to? I don't know. That remains to be a question to answer later. But yeah, man, I actually have like a pretty unique story in terms of starting out in Raid and becoming a content creator for the game. Is I was tasked on my main YouTube channel. I did a sponsored video like everybody else and their mother, right, for Raid Shadow Legends. And, I'm one of those people that I try to actually play the game a little bit, at least, and understand it if I'm actually going to do sponsored content. And Plarium, approached me and said, hey, we'd love to have you do a couple of videos for us. So I was like, I would really love to work with one of your content creators who actually covers the game, because, it's annoying to me to watch somebody, especially do a full video, right, on a game, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They clearly played for a day or two. So I don't ever want to be that guy. So I reached out to you. I think they recommended you, or either one way or another, I got in touch with you. And man, you were like the start of my journey, dude. And I was hooked ever since. I think this game is, for all its faults, it definitely can get its claws into you. And then obviously that's why I'm sure most of your viewers are watching right now. A part of them, it's a love-hate relationship, I'm sure, right? But yeah, so then from then on, I actually really enjoyed the game. And next thing I knew, after we were done with my sponsored content on my channel, I was just like, I really want to actually play this game. Like, I really like the game, and I tried to look past like the community stigma against Raid Shadow Legends and stuff like that. And there's haters out there and stuff, but for what it's worth, like, I've never been one, obviously, to have a huge problem paying a bit of money for my entertainment, right? So call me a pay to win, it doesn't bother me. But that part of Raid Shadow Legends, although I think it's way too much towards pay to win, the fact that there was a monetization, a big component of monetization in the game, didn't turn me off right away. I just love the strategic elements of it. I love Arena specifically, and yeah, man, you really turned me onto the game, and here I am, making content on a second YouTube channel, just kind of as a hobby or a passion project or something.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny because from my perspective, they had come to me and said, hey, this guy named Ash, we'd like you to maybe get in touch with him and maybe do a video. And I was like, Ash? I was like I've known you for like 5 years. Because I played Clash Royale, and you were a content provider, so I had known you. I was like, that Ash? I was like, yeah, for sure, I'd definitely work with him. Like, have him get in touch with me. So from my point of view, it was kind of wild because you were somebody I had watched in Clash Royale for like 5 years. I never played like competitively, but I run a clan, and I have I have like over 5,000 trophies, and I play it at a decent level. I'm not like a scrub, but I'd watch I'd watch your videos, and some people might not even know, but you have your Clash Royale hat on right now, so.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I've been I started YouTube in almost 7 years ago, and I started with Clash of Clans. It was the first mobile game I've ever played that was beyond like Snake, and I kind of got hooked to that one too. You pick up mobile games and you're like, these are benign. I'm not gonna get hooked. It's not like World of Warcraft or something, not like Diablo, but nah. And you kind of get hooked to these games, and that's kind of what happened to me. And eventually, after playing for a few years, I was like, I kind of want to try to start recouping some of this money back. So I tried my hand at YouTube, and it took me a while, man. It wasn't like an overnight success thing. it was, as you know, it's years of grinding and trying to improve one day at a time, and trying to kind of cultivate and grow an audience, and being a part of the community and all those things. And it's really enjoyable. I look back at it incredibly fondly, but yeah, and here I am now.
What year did you start then? Like, would that have been like 2012? Oh, okay.
I started playing in 2012, and I started my YouTube channel in 2014. My main YouTube channel. So, and I've been pretty much daily uploads ever since.
Okay, yeah, because I started doing YouTube in the summer of 2008.
Jeez, you are old school, man.
Yeah. So I was doing.
What did you do back then?
I was a caster for StarCraft 1.
Okay.
I
okay. Mentioning that now.
And now the army's moving into the base. He's busting out the Marines, that type of stuff. And so I was doing that, and like I always tell people, I did YouTube for 10 years before I made a penny. Like, for 10 years.
That's insane. That is insane. I thought I was bad for like 1 year, but wow, that is dedication, and that's what people need to realize. There's two things people need to realize about making content, right? Is number one is you have to be prepared to make consistent content for a long time, without being paid, without getting money, right? And number two is you can be successful though if you stick with it, right? Like, it just takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of hard work, as you're seeing.
Yeah, no, it's like anything in life, hard work, dedication, preparation, all that stuff. If you put that into any industry, you'll get, somewhere in it, and content's no different.
Yeah, definitely, man. So congrats on all your success, dude. Your channel's doing very well right now.
Oh, well, thanks. And one thing is, and I'm sure you would agree with this, it's actually a lot more realistic now, or more attainable now. Like back when I started in 2008, you basically, you had to be a 1 in a million to make it as a content provider. Like, if you weren't the #1 player in the world, or like sponsored by a team, you weren't making a penny. Now, the landscape is a lot different. There's a lot more monetization. I don't even think you could monetize videos back in 2008. I don't think I had the option. So
it's 100% true, and even my son is almost 3 now, but even when he was born, you had to put like your profession on the birth certificate, and it's just like YouTuber. And I knew every nurse in that maternity ward was looking at me like, yeah, he's unemployed,
Yeah.
But I do think that, yeah, you're right. We've come a long way in terms of the viability of this as a career, economically, more so than anything. So I think that, I have no doubts that in 5 or 10 or 20 years, it will be even more of an actual viable career, just seeing the trends, it's impossible to ignore.
Yeah, because like with our generation, a lot of people don't even have cable anymore. Like, I know for me, I just have YouTube Premium on my living room TV, and that's how I get my content. I don't even have cable.
Yeah, I got cable. I have cable just because I'm a huge NBA fan. Rip the season, maybe.
Oh, geez, yeah.
But that's the only reason I have it now, is for sports. And now I guess, and it's funny, even I say that, but it's just like, I don't even watch half of it. Like, I have these every season. I go into it saying I'm not going to miss one game, and then I miss 90% of them. But yeah, other than that, I am with you. It's streaming services, and that's it. You don't feel great, not to put you on the spot, but how old are you, like, roughly?
In early 30s.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm a little bit older than you, but not by much. And yeah, it's just crazy, not to get too far off the beaten path here, but it's crazy to think that people of our age, like, we're the only generation in the entire history of humanity, barring something crazy, that will ever experience life with and without internet.
Yep. I've always said that. Yeah, I love how our perspective, we grew up before cell phones and then kind of came into them. Yeah,
and that's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing that nobody in the history of humanity, unless, again, like a huge crisis happens and we have to rebuild from scratch, but barring that, no one's going to have that perspective of what life was like when you had to get a map out, when you want to go somewhere, or when you leave your house, you're disconnected from the world, or when you see an actor in a movie that you don't know who it is, you have to be content with not knowing who it is. You can't IMDb him,
Yeah.
It's like all those little things are just wild to contemplate.
Or how we used to actually have arguments as kids that we couldn't instantly settle. Like
Never.
Like
Yeah.
now you just Google it in 5 minutes and you know who, or in 5 seconds and you know who's right. We used to actually argue for 10 minutes and we wouldn't, and it's like, well, I'm gonna look that up someday. And
yeah, maybe I'll get an encyclopedia someday. Maybe we'll never. You had to be miserable in life, just not knowing a bunch. You know.
yeah.
Not knowing.
No,
but yeah. Anyway.
No, we got off on a tangent, but that's all right. It's
so a little life philosophy here instead of Raid Shadow Legends. Jeez.
No, that's cool. I like these to be kind of casual discussions. So how did your so you weren't planning on doing raid content? So Plarium came to you and said, I think they sponsored you for like a 5-video series.
Yeah.
And on your on your main channel, and you were gonna do those 5 videos and be done, but you liked the game and decided to kind of stick with it.
Yeah, so I had previously done like those quick 90-second ad reads, they call them integrations. So I'd previously done a bunch of those, and then they were like, I forgot if I pitched them on it or they pitched me, but either way, they were like, let's do like a series of videos and see how they do, see if your audience responds well to them. And that's how I got in it with you. And then after it was done, I almost felt like, you know, when you upload a Raid Shadow Legends video, just to be totally honest, on a channel that's not Raid Shadow Legends, you know you're just gonna get hate. And so part of it's like it's a mixed feelings, right? Like part of me really and genuinely enjoys the game. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it on my second channel every day, you know. But part of me too is just like whenever I hit that upload button, I was like, dude, are people gonna hate me, you know, for this? But at the end, every single time I uploaded a video, I could tell that a lot of my subscribers were actually like, you know what, this game is actually fun. And by the end of the 5-video series, like it was bittersweet for me. I was like, dude, I don't want this to be the end of my Raid Shadow Legends journey. I actually enjoyed the game, you know? So that's what kind of led me to the idea. I still do those small integrations here and there on my main channel as I did before the video series. But you know, the channel itself is just, you know, it's unpaid. It's like a passion project, like I said earlier. But yeah, it's really cool, man. That's what led me to one day. I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and start a channel, and you know, we'll see what happens. Cool. I've been happy, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And so, someone with your perspective, having done content for so many years in another big game, Plarium gets a lot of hate for how often they release content and how they interact with the community. Now, you are super familiar with like Supercell and Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. Do you think it's pretty justified, or kind of what's your opinion since you see kind of two different companies?
Yeah, so I started with Supercell really early, and like in 2014, I connected with them early on, and I've been with them ever since. And I also took like a 2-year, year and a half. I was when Arena of Valor, which is like a MOBA, when it launched in the United States, I was actually a full-time employee with Tencent as the influencer manager. So a little bit different than the community manager, kind of like the person just dealing with the content creators versus the entire community. So I had like that experience as well. And it's a tricky one. I think there's, I'd be lying to you if I said that they were as good as Supercell, or you asked a bit different questions. So I'll handle them kind of one at a time from my perspective, just my personal opinion. And in terms of the length of time between updates and between adding content to the game, totally status quo. Like I have no, when I look at Plarium and I want to be critical, I go to like the community relations side of things. But I don't, like, I just expect developers to take a long time to add new content to the game. As much as it sucks and as much as I hate it, I've just gotten used to it because everybody, whether they have a team of 100 or a team of 10, it seems to be when a game is first released, you might get a lot of new content, but then it always just slows. And so I'm just used to it, I guess, you know? And so I don't think there's anything, I don't have anything against them per se of not releasing more content. You could question the type of content they're releasing. For example, that new like Epic God tier gear. I think that a lot of people are pretty much aligned that it's really cool, but it also pertains to the 0.00001% of the player base. And if you're going to add stuff like that, I don't have a problem with it personally, but it ought to really be packaged in an update or something that services a lot of added features for the free-to-play. And they did add those like bonus logins and stuff as well. But still, it just, and it was bad timing too, like optics wise. But digressing from that a bit, in terms of the community relations, man, like that's something where I feel like Plarium, I don't like to pick on any individuals, because at the end of the day, it's easy to hate and everybody needs a scapegoat and everybody needs to, and I understand that, right? But man, they're so off base in a lot of their decision making in terms of just how they handle things. So oftentimes when you're a big company and you're an easy target, I feel like it's you have to throw yourself on the sword even if you don't feel it's necessary, So for example, with that whole Dracomorph thing,
Yep.
like I have nothing against, by the way, like Cartman or anybody involved really, but it was a really bad look, and they came out and they kind of justified it, and they're like, we're sorry you feel that way, instead of we're sorry we screwed up, and like those little things, like even if that's how you really feel, I feel like just take yourself out of the player base, take yourself out of the developer shoes for a second, and just think of like strategically, if you are the developer, the community manager, like you're going to experience many pain points with your community, and it's all about how you handle and respond to those. And I don't think the pain points are the issues. I think it's the response to them that is very unsatisfying, I guess, and I don't want to be like, I like to be an optimist and see the best in people, and I think they're trying, like they're definitely trying. But at the same time, it's just my personal opinion is there's a lot of good people at Plarium. I feel like there's a lot of good people who want to do more, want to help more. But I think that so far their track record is pretty poor when handling the community. I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb when saying that, right?
No, I totally agree. It's I know you would have a better perspective than I would, because I never, like, I dealt with Blizzard. I was a content provider for like StarCraft and Diablo 3, and like Blizzard didn't do anything for the content providers. Like, they won't even speak to you. They won't, at least Plarium, like, touches base with us. And we have a lot, like, I mean, I ran arguably the best clan in Diablo 3 for 7 years, and they wouldn't even give me a media pass to go to BlizzCon. Like, I mean, they don't care about you at all. So then seeing Plarium, it's like, they actually, they make us intros for our channel, and they do at least have a line of communication with us. I was like, hey, I've seen worse, like.
Yeah. And that's a nice perspective to have, I mean, I look at like the creator chat with Plarium, and there's a lot of like, and viewers should know this, you guys, I don't even include myself, because you guys on a daily basis in there, like advocating for the player base, and you guys don't really hold back your punches either, to be fair. Like, I'll be honest, on both sides, like the creators are a lot more demanding, and probably rightfully so, in like the content creator relationship chats that I'm with the Plarium versus other games that I'm a part of, but that's to be expected because of the discontent right now that's kind of underlying everything in the ecosystem of Raid Shadow Legends. Again, kind of rightfully so. I feel like there's been, and then that whole Reddit post, I mean, here's the part that Plarium, I think they kind of understand, but they don't fully get it. And I'm not asking for someone's sympathy for content creators here, but or shed cheers for Chosen here. But what they don't fully understand is that you content creators, you guys really suffer a lot from every time they mishandle something. For example, like that whole Twitter thing, that turned into like the huge deal, right? Like where it was I don't know how many upvotes did that end with on Reddit, but for folks that don't know what we're talking about, essentially their official social media account was like insinuating they do not pay anybody for sponsored content. Well, I'm sitting here right here and tell you that they pay me for sponsored content, and like, I know that doesn't seem maybe like the end of the world, but those are little things that a huge multi-million-dollar company, they really need to be, more responsible with that stuff. And truthfully, and I don't want to pick on Alina or whoever it was signing those things, but I think that the social media could use a bit of a new strategic viewpoint, to put it kindly, because I just feel like the way they interact with the community, the way they deal with these concerns is not effective, to say the least. And what happens is that frustration in the community, it turns onto the organic content creators who play this game, who cover this game, who take time away from their families to actually make this content. And it's a big sacrifice, you know. And again, I'm not asking for people to like cry for you or me or any other content creator, but at the same time, like that hate bleeds over to you guys, right? So because Plarium's not dealing with it, so it's just there. It's just frustrated community. And I think at the end of the day, everybody just wants to kind of proceed. There's a reason you guys cover Raid Shadow Legends on a daily basis, because you love the game, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're passionate about the game and the community. And it's tough. I see you guys kind of fighting every day. Like I said, I see the hate that sometimes bleeds over to the content creators. And I think that that's a situation that I have not seen that often. And not like this with other games. And that's where I kind of feel for kind of everybody, the player base and the content creators, you know?
Yeah,
that's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for, is to get a fresh perspective. No, it's definitely weird because the hate does spill over into the content. Like it's almost like you work for Plarium or something.
Exactly.
And the funny part is, you know, like you said, we're behind the scenes, like grilling Plarium. Like, guys, this is what the players are telling us they want. Like, why can't you give us this? And so, like, you kind of get it from both sides. It's like we're in the middle, it's kind of sandwiched. We're fighting with Plarium, and then the players are trying to fight with us.
Yeah, no, and I empathize with that a lot. You know, I've chosen not to do. Well, I've made like a couple videos criticizing, like especially like that gear update and the timing on all that and stuff. But like what I generally try to do personally, and this is everybody's choice, and like I've always, you know, like I've gotten hate on it, but like I'll be aggressive behind the scenes, but like people tune in. It's weird as a content creator too, and I'm sure you've been in this position too. Like you want your audience to know that like I care about you and I'm fighting for you and I'm advocating for you, and this is not right. At the same time, you don't want your viewers to be tuning into a channel every day for a game they obviously like, otherwise why would they be watching? Just to hear you complain about it every day.
Yeah.
So the really thin and tricky line to negotiate as a content creator, when you want to voice concerns, but you also actually want to sit back and just enjoy the game, because in this world that we're living in with coronavirus and you know, a crumbling market and all the daily stresses that happen, at the end of the day, do you really want to log in to hear somebody just complain and rant? Maybe some people do, but it's just difficult. And most people don't, you know. So it's a challenge. I'm sure you seem to be doing pretty well with it, though.
Yeah, no, I've always said I try to steer away from like the ranting type content, but it does really well in terms of like views. So people, I think people like to see that human element, and they like to see people react to things and get.
That's
like,
true.
I try to take a more analytical approach. Like in general in life, I think you shouldn't make decisions when you're emotional. I think you should try to be like don't make a decision when you're happy or sad. Like try to be even keel. So that's how I think I've made like one rant video where I was just like, are you kidding me? Like what is going? But
and sometimes that can be good. It can be therapeutic, not just Plarium justifies that. I certainly agree, you know. So but then at the end of the day, you know, we also see another unique side where we see the individuals behind some of these individuals. We don't see like the higher up, the decision makers, but we see the people that we deal with on a daily basis. And like, they're nice people, you know? So it's like, it's very difficult to, when you actually, especially when you start meeting them like in person and stuff. And I've experienced this with other games. It's just like, you go and you meet the team and you have those relationships. And it's just like, it's really tricky, you know? It's just really tricky to and like the people that I talk to at Plarium, they all seem like they genuinely want what's best for the game and the community. They seem that. Their actions sometimes speak differently. It's tough again to kind of like, okay, wait, if you all care, if you all think that, you know, this was a mistake or whatever, then why is nothing changing, you know? So it's just, it can be frustrating. That's what leads to those like ranty videos, and I get it, you know?
I think there's a disconnect at some point between the people who have the final say and the people that we deal with. Like, I think there's a disconnect there. Yeah,
I agree with you. It seems that way. Like, who's to say for, I just, like, I've spoken to quite a lot of people at Plarium, and they've all seemed like really cool. Like I'm not like, maybe I'm just like naive, but they all seem like really cool, like people who care a lot about their game and their community, you know. So it's tough again to kind of say, okay, well then why is that, to square those two things? But I don't know the answer, but I do think that like moving forward, hopefully, you know, like I said, I'm an optimist. Are you optimistic about the future, or at this point are you just like, yeah, we'll see what happens?
I am optimistic for the future because they have screwed up so bad for like 4 or 5 months, and the game metric wise seems to still be doing well. So I think if they ever got it turned around, the game would just blow up and be like top 3 on the App Store, because it actually got up to number 6 in RPG.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it got up to number 6. Since then, it has dropped to like number 21 or something, because they've just been, I mean, striking out at every at bat. But if they finally start hitting some singles and hitting some doubles, like the game will climb up to top 5 again, because all the ingredients are there. They just for whatever reason are sabotaging it. And I think the disconnect is between the people who care about the money and making investors happy, and the people who want to make a good game. I think there's a disconnect there.
And it's weird too, because I'm not going to pretend to know everybody.
And Ash, by the way, your mic keeps cutting out again. I don't know if you got to move it closer or.
Oh, okay.
That's all right though. It's all right. It hasn't been too bad. It's just happened like twice.
That sucks. I'm not going to pretend to know everybody at Plarium, but even like the guys I know from the marketing team are like my favorite people at Plarium. Like they're so cool, and they're so receptive, and they're so willing to admit when things aren't looking good, you know. But I think ultimately you're right. I said this in the, you know, I told them this as well as you know, you, and I think that you probably share this opinion. I think most of the players share this opinion. But I think that it's not going to take a miracle for them to turn things around. It's going to take a couple nods, and they might be big nods, but to the entire player base. Like there's things that I don't know what you would prioritize on your triage list of things that Raid really needs. But I think that, like I said the other day, and I'm not like the most knowledgeable player in the world, but like we could use a way to like better farm silver, like a silver dungeon. We could use a way to actually farm books. Like, yeah,
that's a big one.
Be there. Like there should be another little dungeon for books, like or having or whatever. Or there should be another clan boss, a second clan boss that only has a chance of dropping books or something. But like I think like whether it's sacred shards or legendary books, like the most hard to get items in the game, or top tier gear, I feel like there ought to be real mechanisms for people who are not spending thousands and thousands of dollars to achieve these things. And I think that they should be hesitant to drop items like that in their game that have such a paywall in front of them. The rest of the stuff, like paying for energy or, you know, bombarding us with offers on a daily basis, like that stuff doesn't even bother me so much. It's just like the unachievable stuff that feels necessary to succeed in the game. Like that's something they need to repair, because and this is the major point here, is that will be, if they can build these things into the game, they will be vehicles to increase their overall revenue and maintain a larger player base and a larger community. And that will get the whales wanting to spend more because there's more people to compete with, and they have a bigger ecosystem to play in. But they seem so short-sighted.
I know.
On like, if this is going to gain us, like, you know, if this is going to gain us $2 million in revenue this week, let's do it.
Yep.
Instead of saying, oh, this could gain us, you know, 200 million, but we won't see it for a while, and it's not going to be directly obvious where this income is coming from. And that's kind of my concern. I probably did a poor job of outlining it, but you know, just if they do things that appeal to non-spenders, it's going to increase revenue anyway, because the spenders are going to see the competition. There's going to be more players. It's just going to be a way healthier game. That's just my opinion, you know?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? Like, what do you think is the biggest, like, if you had to only choose a couple, like 1 or 2 things to add to the game, what would you choose?
If I had to pick the biggest issue, I would say it's the clan boss. the clan boss making clans fight with each other and people rage quitting clans because, oh, you guys overkilled the boss damage and now I can't get my max chest, and you know, so and so does this every day, kick him out of the clan. And then, you know, you're trying to do well for your team and not overkill, but you don't have a damage counter, so you can't keep track of your damage. So then you leave your fight and you're like, oh shoot, I overkilled the boss by 6 million, now my whole clan's gonna be mad at me. Like, that system, and the fact that you're stealing damage from clanmates, so people are fighting with each other, it's just an awful, horrible system.
It's funny because my clan is getting to. I started my clan when I started, right, and we just got to the point where we can pretty much consistently kill like Ultra Nightmare clan boss.
Oh, okay.
You know, if everybody gets their attacks in.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't ran into that issue yet, because like we've run into every difficulty and now there's nowhere else to go, right? But I think that's going to be an issue in a month from now. But you know, like I'm the highest power in my clan. Like we have like an array of free-to-play players and spenders in there too, right? So I think we have a nice mix. But you're right, I can see that as being like the evolution. Like, oh, I can see this coming really quickly in the future. You know, like those issues.
Yeah, I run or I help run a clan system of like, I don't know, 10 teams and like 250 or something players. And I just know that like 95% of the issues that come up have to do with like managing clan boss damage and overkilling and people, you know, hitting the void boss twice, and then people who log in later get screwed and now they have to fight against Spirit Affinity and they didn't get a void attack. Like,
oh my god, that's a nightmare.
The whole system,
no pun intended.
The whole system is just awful. But yes, I do agree with your point. I've said it many times about the book dungeon. There should be a dungeon similar to the Minotaur that drops pages. You know, so the early stages drop rare pages that you can turn into books, and then epic pages, and then legendary pages, and each tier gets tougher and tougher to acquire, just like the Minotaur.
Masteries is something in the game that works, right?
Yeah.
Like the Minotaur tied to the, and then you can pay if you want to. Like, I like the idea. That's like a well thought out system in the game, right? So why can't they have the same? You're right, with pages and books. Like that makes perfect sense to me, you know, and that's like more necessary than something like, although I like glyphs and I like the faction crypts and stuff, I enjoy that, and like especially for the end, towards the end game when there's nothing else to do. I think that like it would be so more beneficial to the overall player base if they focused more on, you know, going back to clan boss. Just like a final question there, because you would know way better than I would. Do you think it's better to have like a second three options? A new clan boss that's different, more different abilities, blah, 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 a little bit more difficult, a new difficulty setting beyond Ultra Nightmare, or just reworking how they do the damage, giving like infinite damage? What would you most want to see there?
Probably a new boss, because it would help introduce more meta champions and it would kind of refresh. Agreed. And it would kind of refresh the game. I don't think making another tier past Ultra would be the answer, because again, that's more in line of the platinum gear rewards. You're doing content for the 0.001%. Now the extra boss damage after death, that would help a lot of players. But like you said, you're just now running into these issues. And you're a fairly endgame player. So yeah, I think the new clan boss would be the best option out of those three. Yeah,
I agree. And I think I almost feel like there should be a new with a different system. Like maybe just leave the old clan boss the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more nuanced in terms of strategy involved, and also fixing that damage issue, because the problem is we're always just going to get to the same point. You know, it doesn't matter, like, you know, unless they fix the underlying issues there with the damage too. I don't know, but yeah, it sounds like something needs to change in the clan boss. But I agree, like we have 400, 500 champions or something. Let's give a little bit more reason to, because you know how it is. Once you build up like once you get a few S tier champions, like most of the champions you pull, 99% of the champions you pull, when you like eventually when you get to the end game, are irrelevant to you, and they look cool too. You're like, I would love to build that up, but there's really no reason other than doing a YouTube video for us, right? But other than that, it's just like, yeah, why, you know?
Yeah, that's why I also had another idea of having the arena, when it resets every week, have it be like faction locked. Okay, so like this week, the arena is Sacred Order only. And then the next week, okay, the arena is Undead Horde only. that would really, like, if you want to compete and be in gold 4 and be in platinum, you would really need to be diversified in your champion pool, because every week, and you could give players a heads up, like this week it's Bannerlord and next week it's Dwarves. Like, you give people time to plan, but if you switch the arena every week, it would really shake up the meta.
Yeah, I mean, or if you wanted to take it like somewhere meet in the middle, you could just make it like Affinity.
Yeah.
You know, like, I guess that ruins it a bit. You're right, because like, who wants to do Affinity Arena when everything's the same, right? It kind of negates everything. But I like where you're going there. I would almost like to see that in addition to Arena.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You know, but
yeah.
But yeah, I like where your head's at there. Like, there's so many ideas. I'm sure the people watching are just like, yeah, I can think of a million other ideas too. But it's just like, yeah, adding interesting content is definitely necessary at this point. Hopefully, in the next, few months. I'm being too
few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm trying to be realistic at the same time. I know these things take a while to develop, obviously, but it's still, I would love to see something like along these lines, to really add some hype to the game. How do you feel about like the whole battle pass thing? Like, taking away how underwhelming it was when everybody wanted a huge feature update. How do you feel about it just like grading the feature on its own?
I think it was decent. Obviously, it wasn't perfect, but I think it was decent. I don't think it was as bad of an addition to the game as it got flack for, because I think the sentiment of the community was so negative, and it wasn't like new content. Like, it wasn't a new dungeon, or so I think it was going to be received negatively, unless it gave people like 10 sacred shards. They were going to be like, oh, this is BS. So I think on the surface, it was a decent addition to the game, but it was received more negatively than it should have because of the state of the community at the time it was released.
I agree with you. I think it's a decent feature, just not the feature that we needed, I guess, but like, when in a vacuum, I don't feel like it's awful. I don't know. Yeah, man. I mean, here's to hoping, right? Moving forward, that we have something really cool to get excited about. But in the meantime, I still enjoy it. Like I said, like, ending on an optimistic note, I still really love the game, man. It's really fun to play. And I feel like the champions are so cool. Like, the diversity of champions and the fact that there's so many champions, and there's some redundancy, of course, but there's not as much redundancy as you might expect for, whatever there is, 400, 500 champions or something,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And had you mentioned at some point that you were going to meet with them?
Yeah, well, Corona screwed that up, but I was gonna try to meet the Crane and also perhaps the marketing team. Like I said, I've been working with those guys for quite a while, and just kind of to meet and maybe talk about some of this stuff. And but again, Israel's actually on a 14-day quarantine right now, so we had some plans to go over there and just meet the team, but we'd have to be quarantined for 14 days, and we can't do that. So hopefully postponed. But it would be really cool to meet all of you guys, to bring the content creators out, kind of have like a big powwow in the Ukraine, and see what comes of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're getting pretty deep in here, but one thing I did want to get your opinion on was coming from somebody who developed a channel kind of from scratch to like 700,000 or 800,000, whatever subscribers you have. Is there a word of advice you would give to your older or younger self, like 10 years ago? If somebody out there was wanting to get into content, what would be kind of like your number one thing you learned along the path?
I feel like I don't have any like big regrets on my channel in terms of the way I did things. My strategy is pretty simple, and this is what I basically tell everybody that I talk to, who's an up-and-coming content creator, aspiring content creator, or someone who's already, started but frustrated with the lack of growth or whatever, And I always try to make content. It's so obvious, but I always try to make content that I would really want to watch. Like, that's my only, in terms of my barometer for making content, I just make something that I would want to watch. Like, on my channel, on my Raid channel, I do like a lot of like ranking videos, and like that, some people roll their eyes at ranking videos, but for better or for worse, I like ranking videos, So like, I like making content that I would care to watch, and consistency is huge on YouTube. So, whether it's daily or weekly, you should kind of vary your consistency in uploads based on the production quality that you're putting into them. So if you have really highly intensely edited videos, that's fine if you only are uploading once a week, but just make sure you're always uploading once a week at the same day. Because as you know, humans are such creatures of habit, right, and routine. And if you can get viewers in a routine of watching your content, same time, same place, they're way more likely to come back. I don't think the YouTube algorithm punishes people for not uploading after a certain time. I think it's human habit and routine that people confuse as the YouTube algorithm. If they take a random week off, hey, some people are likely to stop that habit, right? So I think consistency is absolutely huge. And then just continuing to teach yourself, like try to add one little tiny thing to your content every week or so. Like try to learn, maybe I'm going to, whether it's in editing, whether it's in like trying something a little bit new, or whether it's trying a premiere out on YouTube, or whether it's, whatever it may be, try to like add a little something different, or, and take the time to research in YouTube SEO and have like have your description, have your tags, have your playlist set. So playlists are huge too, not in terms of will blow up your channel, but having like a lot of viewers just like they'll scroll down to your recent uploads and stuff like that. And I'm getting way too in the
that's okay.
It's a long-winded answer, bro.
That's okay.
But yeah, basically just like try to do your due diligence and try to improve basically week after week and stay consistent. Last but not least, if you're doing games, don't be afraid to reach out to the developer. Like don't be afraid to be not annoying, but be kind of that squeaky tire, where you're every month or so. That's what I did when I started. Is I messaged Supercell maybe 5 or 6 times over the course of like 6 months or a year before they actually responded to me. Just like, hey guys, I love your game. There's a little bit about myself and, would love to help you out in any way or whatever, So don't be afraid to be proactive and share your content, even though you might get hate for it, especially on forums or something like that. But
cool. No, I appreciate the in-depth answer. It's kind of, a lot of people in the raid community are either thinking about doing content or kind of got into it recently. So I thought, coming from somebody who, from a channel of 700,000 subs in one of the bigger games of Clash Royale, you might have some insight, of something to share to kind of a growing community instead of an established community like the one you come from.
Yeah, I mean, also you have to be realistic about your expectations, because part of the reason that I have, I think, I don't know, like I'm closing in on 850 right now, but the whole reason isn't because it's 2 reasons. Number 1 is like longevity. And number 2 is I'm playing a game that millions of people play, right? And it's as simple as that, right? Owning the SEO for the game, having good developer relationships with occasional promotion, which is another thing that Raid could get better at. They share like their own content in game a lot, but it'd be really cool. They did it once with Stu or whatever. It'd be really cool if they started putting the YouTubers in the game, right? It's just the best way to gain an audience, because they're the best viewers you could possibly ask for, because they're already playing the game. They don't have to come discover you. So, but having all those things is super important, and also just knowing your market cap, right? Like if I'm going to start a lemonade stand, and I'm not going to expect to be making $1 million, but if I'm going to start a huge, lemon distributing business, then I know that the ceiling cap is way higher. So, it doesn't mean that you have to start with a huge game, but that's part of my success is not because I'm some charming, intelligent person. It's because I played games that were super popular,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And if Raid continues to get more popular, like you said, if they make good moves, and they bring more players, and advertising is annoying as it is, if they keep bringing in more players and spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year advertising their game, it's going to be good for YouTubers, because they're going to want these players going to need somewhere to go to watch content, if they're inclined to do that. So
speaking of that, one thing before I let you go, you don't have to tell me your sponsorship deal, but what do you think Plarium is paying the average YouTuber? Like I don't know if they're paying these people $500 or 10,000. Like, you don't have to tell me your deal, but what do you think the average, like,
oh man, it all depends on views, right? It's paid by, as you know from our conversations and stuff, like about whatever the business side of things, I guess it's it's all priced on I own a talent agency on like the side, or maybe not on the side, but as one of my main things that I do outside of YouTube. And we just price everybody based on their average views and their demographics. So who's watching their channel in terms of their audience regions, and then how many views are they getting on each video or each piece of content, or if they're a streamer, how many concurrent viewers are they averaging? And then there's kind of like an industry standard has sort of evolved over the last like half decade or so in terms of, so if you like, I'll give you a nice easy one, but like a guy like Phil DeFranco advertises Raid Shadow Legends. I don't know his prices, but I think for a channel that size, you're probably looking at like maybe like $20,000 to $30,000 for a 90-second ad read.
Okay.
You know, and around that, like, and then it kind of scales depending on views. You know, and I could be off, like, give or take a bit, but like it depends on what the ask is too. Like if you're doing a whole video versus a quick ad read, or you know. But I think that, you know, there's no doubt about it that Raid invests heavily in I mean, Captain Obvious here, right? Heavily into advertising, and I think it's actually, you know, it's a gift and a curse. I think that they could get way more creative with their ad reads to make the game seem a bit more enticing than the same script over and over again, to be fair. But at the same time, I think it's an overall good thing that they're doing that for the community, because it's bringing in a lot more players. Otherwise, you know, I played like Skylanders or something for a sponsored video. It's basically the same type of game, you know, as Summoners War, as a bunch of these games are. But they're just not putting as much advertising into it, so it lacks the player base that Raid has, you know? So I don't know. I hope that kind of answers your question, but like it really just depends so much.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, we kind of went off on tangents there. But...
Yeah, right? God, feel free to cut any of this.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. Your mic did cut out like 4 or 5 times, but it was only for like 2 seconds, so I hope it's okay. But yeah, anyway, I'll link to your channels and stuff down in the video description, but anything you want to say about final words and shout out or anything, or? Yeah,
well, I mean, like Captain, again, being, but, man, thanks to you, dude. I mean, you started it out in Raid. You and Hell Hades have been like really kind to me, helping me out. You came on my main channel. Hell Hades came on my second channel a couple times. So, you know, shout out to both of you guys. You guys have been tremendous to work with, and you know what? Being like a full-time YouTuber on another channel, and then coming into your like little community here, which you guys have worked so hard to kind of to you know, to be a part of, and you are a huge part of it, all you guys, and to be so like, I don't know, like welcoming to like somebody who's just like, dude, some dude who they paid to come play their game is now playing our game. Like, what the hell? Like that says a lot about you guys and your character and stuff, not to just be like, dude, screw this guy. And like, here you are inviting me on your channel. So honestly, props to you, man. I really appreciate it. And it's not just because you're recording me.
Okay, no, well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you know, working with me and bringing me on your channel and answering my questions about being a content provider.
No problem, dude. No problem.
All right, well, take it easy. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks for having me, man.
Yep, see ya. Alrighty, that's going to do it for this video, and thank you for watching, and a huge shout out to Ash for sitting down and joining me for ChoseN's Corner, and it was really fun to get his perspective on all these things. Links to his stuff will be down in the video description. Definitely check him out. He's been doing it a long time, and he's a very high quality content producer, so definitely check his stuff out and go subscribe to him and all that good stuff. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.